Avengers 5 courts the director. Brave New World reshoots are underway with Giancarlo Esposito's mysterious villain joining the fray, plus new trailers for Moana 2, Venom 3, and Alien Romulus. What number is Romulus? All of that and more this week on Multiverse News. Welcome to Multiverse News, your source for information about all your favorite fictional universes. My name is Matthew Carroll, and with me on the panel today is the lovely Haley Hobbs. What is happening, Haley Hobbs?
I'm gonna ride some waves into some big MCU news.
Yeah, right? This is a big one for MCU fans, so stick around. That's a tease. And J. Scotty St. Clair.
Hey, yeah, Kevin Feige finally decided to do us a solid this week, so it's a good week.
Finally. Thank you, our Lord and Savior Feige. We never lost faith, even though you treated us like Job this last year of the podcast. Never mind. And Jay Sisson, what is happening?
Yeah, he's finally learned the error of his ways. You know, he saw that we were getting angry with the fact that he was dropping all the news approximately 11 hours after we would drop our episodes, and instead he decided to feed us a little early today.
Yeah. Thank you for the manna from Kevin.
Nuggets rain from on high.
Did you say nuggets?
Yeah, that's what we call our tidbits, nuggets.
See, you're saying like news nuggets. Yeah. That makes sense. I was thinking like replacing manna with like chicken nuggets.
Sure, that works too.
That works too, yeah. All right. Well, as we do every week, first we're going to read you a 5-star review from Teacher, Mom, and Student. Says, I've been listening from the beginning. I'm usually only interested in 25 to 50% of the stuff they cover, but I'm entertained 100% of the time. Great chemistry and format, even better newsies than Christian Bale. That is some high praise.
We will take it.
Yeah. I want to be the cowboy. Santa Fe, are you there? Okay, sorry. I loved that when I was 8.
Go ahead.
Please.
Do you swear you won't forget me? If I found you, would you let me run? Come and play. Yeah, I think. Okay. Yes, love that. And I love this 5-star review too because this is exactly my experience with the shows that we kind of modeled this after that I used to enjoy that don't even exist anymore, that I used to enjoy these kind of entertainment news shows, panel shows that I used to listen to. I had the same experience. Half the things they talked about, I didn't even know about. But as I listened to the show for years, I would like learn about sort of the arc that's going on behind the scenes. And it made me interested in like movie news and the story behind the stories. And I think that's super cool. And I'm glad it's entertaining because otherwise it would be a bad review otherwise.
I want them to redo their review, add to it, like, what's the stuff you do like that we cover?
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, we should do like a poll. Hey, a poll. We do that.
We do lots of them.
Maybe I'll do like something like that this week. Some sort of, yeah. Okay. First story tonight. You guys ready to hop in?
Yeah,
always.
This is a big one, guys. Big one. You know, it's just a maybe. But Deadline broke the news that Deadpool and Wolverine director Shawn Levy is being courted as Marvel Studios' first choice to direct the franchise's next Avengers movie. Though so much isn't known about the future of the Avengers due to Marvel's internal shakeup reordering their release schedule of shows and movies, as well as the Jonathan Majors legal issues and consequential firing. Deadline did say Levy was given a script from writer Michael Waldron. It is also rumored that more than 60 Marvel characters could appear. So let's effing go.
Yeah, let's effing go. My immediate takeaway is that the studio is obviously pretty clearly pleased with the work that Shawn Levy has done on Deadpool and Wolverine. So I was already really excited for that entry. This just makes me that much more excited. And my next thought is naturally, what does this tell us about the next Avengers film? we don't know a lot about it. At one point in time, it was titled as the Kang Dynasty and had Daniel Destin Cretton attached to it. It's been a long time since those days, and so it leaves me wondering: will it be closely connected to Deadpool and Wolverine? Is that why he's maybe the top choice at this point in time? And if not, narratively, maybe thematically or tonally. So, which is an interesting direction to take an Avengers film. Is going to lean into more comedy and potentially like crude comedy. I don't know. Maybe that's taking it too far. But when I hear 60 characters, the MCU obviously has a very vast well to pull from. But I also have to imagine this means we're going to be seeing a lot of like pre-MCU legacy characters, like beyond Deadpool and Wolverine. So I'm thinking like, maybe Nick Cage as Ghost Rider, maybe even like the OG Howard the Duck from the 80s, even with the, the poor reception of that character. I think there's a potential there. So lastly, I've been reasonably impressed with Levy's work, but not to the extent that I'm like over the moon excited. And I am a little bit worried about him becoming pigeonholed. And I haven't necessarily had that same reservation with other filmmakers that seem like, they stick around for a few films with Marvel.
Yeah, if Nick Cage can come back as come for the first time as Superman, why not as Ghost Rider?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's funny. I obviously read this story in rehearsing the script and stuff today, but like a lot of times until we're on the show, I'm not really thinking about what my take is, and I just find myself in this moment like really excited. Like cool. The fact that they're talking about an Avengers 5 and it feels like there's a script and there's at least an idea of what they want to do and there's a goal in mind. I can't imagine this being similar, as you were talking about, Jay Scotty, to Deadpool and Wolverine, even though I haven't seen that movie. Like, sure. I can't imagine it being too connected, like literally connected to that movie, and I can't imagine it being, thematically or tonally similar. Like, it just seems like such a leap for an Avengers movie to be that way. Sure. But like, I'm just excited that there's an Avengers 5 and there's a direction, and we don't know what it is yet, but I'm just excited that someone does and that they have a plan for a big crossover movie.
For sure.
Yeah, if you ever want to see like a really unique body of work, like go look up Shawn Levy's IMDb page. It is very all over the place. He has sort of found his footing in his recent projects that he's been involved in, but really like his career in Hollywood is sort of a strange one if you kind of look through the body of work that he's known for. And to me, like I don't find myself particularly being like really shocked by this. I think, like you said, Scotty, like you nailed it. It's a vote of confidence in Deadpool and Wolverine for sure, which we already sort of knew Marvel was very pleased with it, but this just tells us that they're extra pleased with it. This is kind of what they do. They have people come in and do a movie, and then if they like what they see, then they move them up to that next tier. They put them into that Avengers tier or the crossover movie or whatever, and that's kind of what we're seeing here. But I think ultimately Shawn Levy, to me, does strike me as a very like safe choice for the Marvel formula. I mean, he gets action pretty well. He's pretty good. I think he's shown a very good skill for like balancing a lot of different characters at the same time, which is what this movie is going to have to do. I think he's good at injecting like heart and emotion into his storylines where it needs to be, and all of these things sort of match up with what Marvel movies sort of do, right? Like they have he's good with humor, he's good with action, he's good with lots of characters. Like that's probably the kind of person that you would want to bring in. So to me, it's not that surprising. Like when I saw this, I wasn't necessarily like, holy crap, Shawn Levy. It just sort of makes sense when you kind of line up all the pieces. I think I would have been a little bit more excited with maybe like a little bit more out there of a choice, like kind of like for example, we keep talking about Fantastic Four and how like that storyline's evolving, and then we talk about these like weird castings all the time with Fantastic Four, like they're bringing in this person and that person, and it's made me more interested in that movie just because of like the weirdness of it, and for me, I'm not necessarily looking at this and thinking like, okay, like that's intriguing, but still, that's not to dog it at all. I think it matches up with what Marvel has traditionally had success with, and that's why we're seeing Shawn Levy get this responsibility. And it should be said, like you said at the very top, Matt, that this is not a shoe-in, that he is thinking about it, that they've given him a script, and that they are currently talking to other directors while they wait for him to make up his mind. So it's not in stone. It's just that he is their preferred top choice, but they are having other conversations. So this could change if it's not something that he's interested in doing.
Yeah, I'm very much sitting back on my heels and waiting and watching because, like I told the Jays before, Jay and Jay Scotty, I looked at his IMDb and I was like, I've seen one of these properties, and it was All the Light You Cannot See on Netflix, and he was a producer, he didn't direct, and it wasn't very good, which probably isn't really his fault. But otherwise, Deadpool Wolverine will be the first thing I see that he's directed. And so it feels to me reminiscent of the Russos. Like, here's somebody who's done some various things. The comedy chops are there. And they're going to throw this person into the deep end with an Avengers movie. An Avengers movie, it's going to be huge. So if I go to focus on that, to me, this very much looks like Incursions and Secret Wars, especially if we're going to be coming off the heels of the Fantastic Four movie, kind of with all of that stuff that could be happening. That many characters, I mean, that's what that points to.
Yeah, 60 characters is certainly a choice.
I think that even more so than the director. That's even more of a rumor. And it's just that, like, and it's not that they are going to have 60 characters. It's that they could pull in 60 characters. So it's like, of course they could. They've got that many characters easily.
Sure.
Of course they could. I don't even know what point. I don't know how deep that point is. Just looking at his IMDb and stuff, like, I think he just seems like a director who has made a lot of different kinds of movies.
Sure.
And a lot of different kinds of things. And I think that, like, very similar to the Russos. I think this. Yeah, I think that's whoever made that point. That's a very good point. I think he's the way they brought in the Russos. They gave him a couple of movies, and then they gave him the big show. And it just seems like they've given him Deadpool and Wolverine, which, if it's going to be a big crossover or a Secret Wars, like, it absolutely fits the vibe. So, and if they like what they see, I think it could be a great choice.
Now, while we talk about, this not being set in stone and they're still, potentially courting other directors, I don't know if there'll be another opportunity to bring it up. So, completely rumor, nothing substantiated here, but we did find out earlier today that there's a rumor that Jordan Peele met with Marvel about potentially directing a movie. So I don't think he'd be the right guy for Avengers, but I would love to see some, fresh creativity and such a strong auteur vision like that brought into the MCU. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, totally.
Jordan Peele, just his brain blows my mind. Like, anyone that is amazingly adept at two completely different genres the way he is, the way he could make Key and Peele, which I think is one of the funniest sketch shows ever, and then go into horror and such an intense horror that he's made. Like, I just think it's amazing.
Yeah.
Who knows what else he has in him. So I wouldn't count him out for an Avengers, but yeah, I haven't seen him do that. I haven't seen him in that mode. It's like you said, J. Scotty, we might not have another chance to talk about it. I guess we will, maybe. But, like, you think he'd direct something on the horror side of Marvel? What do you guys think?
Well, I know once upon a time he was really gunning to do a live action adaptation of Akira, depending on your pronunciation there. So I would think that he's probably more interested in a little bit more of a, like, grounded, boots on the ground type of character, just, to have the opportunity to depict action that's kind of evocative of that.
Hey, as we're going to talk about later in this thing, our one Mahershala Ali is getting a lot of work in Hollywood, so we might need that Blade movie rebooted. And I think Jordan Peele makes a lot of sense for something like that.
True. All right, well, up next, Captain America Brave New World began reshoots in Atlanta this last week, with new cast member Giancarlo Esposito joining the call sheet for the 22 days of additional photography. Unofficial leaked set photos confirmed the actor's involvement after he heavily hinted at an unexpected role within the MCU. While we still have no word on which character Esposito portrays, all signs point to the role being, quote, villainous in nature. Brave New World has spent a lot of time in the oven. Do these significant reshoots and cast additions impact our expectations for Sam Wilson's first big screen foray as the Star-Spangled Man?
Buns in the oven? Little buns, like Captain America's buns? Is that why we talked about it being in the oven?
Yeah, it might have been.
Is this an America's ass joke?
Yeah. I think
I'm always here for that.
tapped into my psyche that I wasn't aware of.
Wouldn't be multiverse news if we didn't have butt talk, but I am thinking we're all living in Giancarlo Esposito's world, and he's just kind of like swirling us around with all these things. He's talked about being in the MCU. He's talked about he's going to have a television show in the MCU, and now we get this kind of explosive news that, oh, he's doing reshoots for Captain America Brave New World. I saw a lot of the character thoughts that people had that he could be playing. None of them really stuck with me. None of them seemed like characters I was familiar with. Not that I'm some expert, because I'm not, but they seemed like deep cuts, and I don't know that it'll be something like that, because you want people like overall to enjoy and understand a character, and if it's a really deep cut comic character, that it doesn't really cast the same light on a movie. So I don't know what he's going to be, but of course he's going to be a villain. Can he be anything else?
I mean, at this point, he's kind of, that's what he's built his career on, is sort of being this very, like, we joke about it all the time, but like seeing that he's in a villain role, I kind of was like, well, I mean, can we do something else with him? I don't know. Like, I kind of was like, I was a little bit let down, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's not to knock him. Like, he plays the character that he plays great. It's just, man, I'm thinking about him in The Boys, and I'm thinking about him in Breaking Bad, and it's like a Venn diagram with this like very large center of, you almost feels like you can plug that guy into, you could almost swap him, and it'd almost be like the same sort of character. So I think bringing him in for reshoots tells me that he is not going to play a major role in this movie, especially since they're only doing reshoots for 22 days. Like, that's not a very long time. So I would not be surprised if he doesn't show up this entire movie, and then he shows up at the end in like some sort of like, because he even said that whenever he was asked initially about what type of role he would play in the MCU, he said, like you said, Haley, like, I'm going to do a show, but I'm going to be teased first before the show happens. So that tells me that he is playing some sort of role, but it's probably not major in this, and he'll probably show himself at the end or whatever, and then we'll probably get some sort of an announcement that he's going to be in X, Y, and Z, later on, or whatever. Now, as far as what character he could play, I mean, who knows? Like, of course, everybody goes to the big stuff. They're like, oh, he's Doctor Doom, oh, he's, Magneto, he's whatever. I mean, I wouldn't go that far yet. I don't know if you're going to do that quick. You're going to cast him, you're going to cut him into a movie that he wasn't originally in. It just seems kind of fast for a major character. But so I wouldn't necessarily run too far with that, but yeah, I think he's probably not going to play a pivotal role in this movie. But he seems, at least by his words, he seems like he's going to play some sort of pivotal role in the greater MCU eventually going forward.
Do you think they're going to do the Ben Mendelsohn thing? Because like I think of Ben Mendelsohn when he was cast as a villain in Captain Marvel. It was like the same thing. He was like the go-to guy for villains for quite some time, and they ended up subverting our expectations with Talos actually being a much more heroic character in the landscape of the MCU. So I hadn't really considered it until now, but I don't know, knowing that it's going to like spin off into a show, that makes me think it might be a little bit less likely, but maybe he's not a straight up villain. Maybe he's just kind of more of like a murky gray kind of character. I would certainly love that for Giancarlo Esposito, not to get quite so typecast and to, spread his wings a little bit. But I have seen the set photo, and I didn't go looking for it. I just happened to stumble upon it. And the only thing I will say is that it was in no way obvious to me who the character might be. So that's all I'll say. Now, considering the reshoots, 3 weeks of reshoots is not as egregious as it might sound. It's pretty standard for a production of this size, but we do know what a hellish production this movie's been through. So, Jay, I'm kind of with you. I don't know how big a role he will play, but adding a completely new character at this juncture does seem like a pretty big overhaul to me. So I'm getting a little worried about, director Julius Ona. I suspect he's probably fallen victim to the Marvel machine here. So I hope maybe this is an instance of like maybe some shadow directing, like a la Rogue One with Gareth Edwards and Tony Gilroy, rather than kind of like an assembly line movie or by committee movie, So all that being said, I'm still pretty excited for the movie, even if Giancarlo Esposito appearing as yet another villain doesn't really move the needle all that much for me.
I just can't stop thinking about, like, obviously I want to speculate about who he would play, but I don't know. The list for me is pretty short. of who I can think of who he would play. I'm not as comics deep as some on the panel are, but I keep thinking of just like it's being in Brave New World and it being sort of a about I'm guessing this movie is going to be somewhat about the politics of the universe, seeing as it has the president in it. It's also coming off the heels of Secret Invasion, which set the world up in that very specific way, which who knows if that's going to connect at this point. But like, I really wonder what is going to happen with. It makes me think of Doom. It makes me think of because of the recent X-Men '97 stuff and Magneto at the UN. Like, it all makes me think of Magneto or someone who is on that world stage. You know what I mean? I don't know what character that would be, but someone related to the like sort of political landscape would be. I see him as a bureaucrat. In almost all his roles, he's sort of that bureaucratic villain, you know? And so I could definitely see something like that. Maybe not even someone we would even really think about as a major character, but might be like someone connected to Val or something that moves along in more movies.
He might be somebody like that takes over Sword, that kind of character, because we don't have anybody that we know of right now that is heading up Sword, and Sword is a big thing in the comics, really. So, yeah, I don't know. He can do anything.
Yeah, you could do a series on Disney Plus about that or something. That'd be kind of cool.
100%.
I will say before we move on, like I'm a little worried about Captain America: Brave New World, like because it's been through so much. I mean, this is a movie that has been under production before the strikes, and then the strikes happened and it had to shut down, and then it was tested and people hated it, and so they went back to the drawing board and rewrote and reshot, and now we're getting more reshoots, and I don't know. I mean, I'm hopeful for it, but that's a lot to overcome for a movie, and I feel like this movie's got a lot. It's got big shoulders. I mean, this is a big character that we haven't seen in a long time, and it's got a lot of heavy lifting to do for this universe. So I'm a little worried about this movie, though. I'm afraid of just the Frankensteining of it may show up in the final cut, and that's a concern.
I mean, even if it wouldn't show up in the final cut to us, the fact that we know so much about it is going to make us look for it. And that's just a bummer. That is one of the downsides to knowing so much about the behind the scenes is, I'm going to be looking for, I bet that was the added thing. And that just inherently takes you out of the being in the moment.
Speak for yourself.
I was.
Before we move on, I did want to provide a little silver lining. At least we know that his character, Giancarlo Esposito's character, was not spoiled by McDonald's. So, we've got that guarantee.
Yeah, at least that's one of them that wasn't.
But
it's not too late.
It's true.
Get on it, McDonald's.
Right in line with your train of thought there about him being more of a bureaucratic villain, Adam Dell in the chat had a really good suggestion that I have not seen yet. He said he might be the new William Stryker, which I think is a really good call.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like, I really think we are going to get mutant registration, Sentinels, all that coming soon, because it's always been a way to introduce the mutants because it sets them up as this, underclass, and given where the world is after Secret Invasion and their arrival, like, it just feels like that's all coming. So I totally see that.
Yeah.
All right, up next, we got a bunch of trailers, you guys. This week treated us to a batch of brand new high-profile trailers. Let's break down our thoughts. First, we had Venom 3. What you guys think?
Weird.
Right?
Yeah. But, like, I don't know if it's, like, good weird. I was kind of, like, weird while I was watching it, which it's always been weird-ish. Like, the first one wasn't. The first one was relatively safe, I feel like. But the second one, which didn't really do it well, but tried to kind of take it in some different directions. But yeah, I think like this character and universe is in such a weird place for me. Like you're watching this trailer, you're seeing Tom Hardy, you know that this is the last time that he is going to portray this character, is what they're saying. And then you've got these weird questions that need answered, like how are you going to wrap up his arc in this universe whenever you've tried to develop all these other people in his universe, and aren't they supposed to be a team for something, but there's no Spider-Man, so we're just going to get rid of Venom and then maybe never bring Spider-Man in, or maybe, I don't know. And then on the other side, you've got the fact that the symbiote was dropped in the MCU at large and has not been followed up on since Spider-Man No Way Home. So you have that, and you have to figure out what to do with that. I don't know if that's what they were getting in this trailer. I mean, do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like on the bar scene,
Yep.
like it looked like they were trapping the symbiote from that moment, which I was like, wait, aren't you the characters from the Venomverse? Like, why are you here, or are you here? So it was just, I don't know. There was a lot going on that didn't feel answered to me. It didn't give me a lot of confidence that this movie is going to do a lot to answer these types of questions. I'm sure there will be some very messy post-credit scene at the end of this that tries to be like, hey, it's Spider-Man, and or whatever. But
it just feels so easy to not be this confusing. Like, it just feels so easy to like make a universe that isn't this confusing. Did you also catch that the actor who's playing the guitar playing hippie in the car is the actor who played the lizard in the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies?
Oh yeah, what's that guy's name? Do you know?
Reese Ifans?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I don't even think that's the same character though. I think they're just because Chiwetel Ejiofor is in this movie too, right?
Yeah. Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Yeah, I couldn't remember how to say his name, but like he's in the MCU as Baron Mordo, so it's like I don't even think it's the same character. I think they just grabbed an actor that they liked and they were like, you guys don't remember,
throw some money at it.
Well, there's a lot of speculation that Chiwetel Ejiofor, like people talking about that, but I think there's no chance that that's anything to do with Baron Mordo because
right. Oh yeah, zero chance.
Unless this is like alternate universe and this is like Colonel Mordo who never went to whatever. But like,
you're giving him way too much credit.
I agree. I don't think that. Sorry, I just had to throw in that little possibility. I had to confuse myself. But no, I think the lizard though, like the last time we saw him was in No Way Home getting sent back to his universe after being cured. So what if this is an alternate universe?
I forgot he got cured. Yeah.
Yeah. So what if this is an alternate universe? You remember, I brought all this up on the MCU cast, so I don't want to break it all down too much, but like, what if he got sent back and then had like the next 10 years to sort of heal from his trauma of lizarddom and became like a hippie dude in a van and that's just his life now? And like, it could be the same character, and it's just frustrating that they make this so confusing.
I'm just waiting for Dakota Johnson to show up and be like, Madam Web's here too. It's a party.
Or Sydney Sweeney. This is the MCU, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. It's going to be so fun. This movie's going to be so fun.
Yep.
But not for like good reasons.
I think that is true. All right, what about Moana 2?
Oy, we're not starting very strong with these, are we? Moana 2 broke records for Disney Animation and Pixar views on trailers. So, like Jay said before we recorded, it's probably going to do really well in theaters. But as I watched it, I thought, feels retreading, feels not super interesting. Of course, it's a teaser. There wasn't really dialogue or anything like that. So we don't get any of that kind of context. But I was just very underwhelmed by it. Sorry, Moana. I love Moana, the first one. But,
yeah, I couldn't help but like watch the entire trailer knowing with all the reporting we've done here, kind of like we were talking with the last story, that the Disney Plus series has been recut and reformatted to create this sequel. So yeah, I kind of went into it just like, and that became glaringly obvious to me. So, I also wonder, Lin-Manuel Miranda's not going to be around this time. Is he the X Factor? I mean, yeah. How's this thing going to play without him?
He's been real all over the place and success and not success over the last few years. So I don't know, but I'm thinking about too, like they have a live action Moana that's currently in development. Yeah. So it's like, it's kind of weird to do a Moana 2 and then do a live action. The Rock is in both, by the way. Like he is the live action
it's a
Maui too.
Yep. It's very weird.
Because he was not letting anyone else play that character. Like, he was, that was not happening.
But does this other, the live action one occur after he got healed by Spider-Man and sent back to the live action universe?
The animated universe.
In Black Adam, he was... In this essay, I will.
How dare you invoke Black Adam?
We don't speak that name.
Sacrilege.
Jay, with you referring, kind of disparaging Lin-Manuel Miranda there a little bit, I hope you're not referring to Into the Heights, or In the Heights, rather. Because while that was a commercial flop. I love that thing. It's got great music.
It's so good. Yeah, In the Heights is really, and that was before Hamilton. He wrote that. That was like his.
Yeah, that was like his first thing.
His first musical. Yeah, his first off-Broadway musical, and I think it's great. And again, that's before he became who we all know him to be and had all the resources we know him to have now.
Piragua, fresh block of ice, Piragua.
Love it. All right, and Alien Romulus, to change gears completely from Moana.
Yeah. Oh boy. What stood out to me first and foremost was the sound design. We had the sound of a chest burster slowly expanding a chest cavity, and that is effectively sickening and kind of satisfying if you're a freak like me. But then they go the complete opposite direction and have that ringing, kind of disoriented, drowning out of sound, coupled with such high energy visuals. So we got face huggers, we got chest bursters, we got Kaylee Spaney, who after her recent appearance in Civil War is quietly becoming one of my favorite up-and-comers. She just recently joined the cast of Wake Up Dead Man, which we're going to talk about later. But yeah, this looks incredible, and I'm really excited for Fede Alvarez to show what he can do in this genre.
You mentioned it, but the thing that really stood out to me was the silence toward the end, where you just get like that ringing and the silence and no dialogue, no music. And I've seen a lot of trailers in my life, and they all feel similar. And this one, even in the trailer, the way they cut it, like made me feel like I've never seen this before. Like, yeah. And you had to trust to have that silence. You really had to trust the visuals to continue to bring you in. Yeah. And like the visuals that continue during that silence are on par with anything I've seen in the Alien franchise, all the way back to the originals. Like it's just really, really beautifully done design from both the the actual set design and characters, but then the way they're shooting this action and the way they're shooting these shots I feel like these shots all feel iconic, and a lot of them sort of call back to shots from the original, but like doing it in a modern, updated way. And I think it looks awesome.
Agreed.
All right. Well, up next, let's get some hobbits up in here. J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings and Middle-earth works have seen their fair share of adaptations, but one character that has long been absent from the proceedings, to the chagrin of many readers, is the Fellowship of the Ring's Tom Bombadil. That all changes as Amazon's Rings of Power Season 2 is set to feature the character, with English actor Rory Kinnear portraying the enigmatic forest dweller. This was revealed in a Vanity Fair exclusive. Tolkien himself was often hazy on the character, who has been described as older than old and more of an observer than an active participant in the many conflicts of Middle-earth. Does the inclusion of this long-awaited fan-favorite character excite any of us here on the panel?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been a weird thing, right? Like, Tom Bombadil is such a weird character because he almost feels like sort of a throwaway in Fellowship of the Ring. Like, he gets this one chapter where the hobbits are leaving the Shire, and they run into him, and they spend a chapter with him. I forget what the chapter is called, but it's got his name in it. And he's just, like, weird, and doesn't really have a backstory, and it seems like it's almost like kind of what happens with Star Wars, where Star Wars fans get like extremely obsessed with characters that are just kind of put in the background, and then eventually they become something bigger. So I'm thinking about like Boba Fett, for example, like, a character with not a lot of screen time that then all of a sudden has a lot of screen time because people just get really like obsessed with him. And so Tom Bombadil is kind of one of those guys. He's like, we can't really ask Tolkien about him, so it's kind of left people to fill in the gaps themselves over the years about who he is and what his deal is. And a lot of people are like weird Tom Bombadil experts online, and they're like, no, he's been here and there, and he's been doing this and that. And it's like, okay, I don't know if any of that was ever meant at the beginning.
Is there a Tom Bombadil tracker like Santa Claus?
Yes, I'm sure there's like a Tom Bombadil like subreddit and everything. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. R/Tommy B.
Putting him in the prequel is bound to, everybody's bound to just be on the complete same page about him in the prequel and totally, agree with everything that they do with him in the prequel, of course. But yeah, it's a place that I guess makes sense to put him. But at the same time, like it's just, again, it's like one of those characters you kind of weirdly have to like write him in a way because there's just not a lot there. Like he's barely mentioned really in the pages of this grand story, and so you kind of have to like create him sort of with the light guide rails that you have that have been created. And so it's a weird thing. It's this fascinating sort of middle ground with this person and this character, and I'm interested to see what happens. I think we talked about before, the Rings of Power is in a weird place because it's trying to tell this story, but it's also like not owned by it's also not like the TV rights are owned by Amazon, the film rights are owned by Warner Brothers, and so you've got this like weird kind of back and forth thing. So ultimately, like it's strange, but I'm here for it ultimately, for on my side at least. Whatever, let's do it.
Jay, sorry to be that fan, but
Actually, Tom Bombadil's first appearance was not in The Fellowship of the Ring, but it was in the 1934 poem, The Adventures of Tom Bombadil.
See, I know people are doing this right now,
you put your glasses up when you say that,
I'm not here for any of that. Like, if anybody wants to come at me and be like, actually, you're talking about, like, whatever, get out of my face.
In all honesty, I did not know that prior to recording. I did research, and that's where I learned that. But similar to you, I was familiar with the character. I remember reading the books when I was growing up. So, there was likely a point in my teens where the prospect of his appearance would have made me giddy with delight. And I'm still excited for the character to make his debut, but it's really the casting of Rory Kinnear that draws me in. He's great in all of like the Daniel Craig 007 movies. He was also popped up in Our Flag Means Death and had a great role in that. But most recently, he had a role in Alex Garland's Men from A24, where he effectively plays the same kind of character. He's like the Green Man or the man of the forest, kind of like, that forest entity that persists like European folklore and what have you. But that was a really weird movie. And for me to say that about an A24 movie, it was a weird movie. So it's a very intriguing choice to me to choose a role that's so closely associated with that role. And maybe he's going to be that guy that, he just does the weird roles.
All right. Yep. We started the show about a year ago, and this next story, we couldn't have ever expected to carve out a collectible popcorn bucket niche, especially a lewd collectible popcorn bucket niche when we started the show, but here we are. Deadpool star Ryan Reynolds unveiled a cheeky ad teasing a somewhat risque popcorn bucket for Marvel's upcoming superhero team-up. The bucket, shaped like Wolverine's head with a comically and somewhat sexually wide-open mouth, aligns with Kevin Feige's promise of a crude and rude design. So, did the bucket and accompanying reveal live up to the hype for us here?
Is it as good as the Dune bucket? Never. But that's because that was unintentional. And like we've said so many times, Hollywood trying to recapture the magic or the lightning in the bottle just doesn't work. But that being said, I really do like the design, particularly how shiny it is, which immediately begs the question: how much is old Disney going to strong arm us for when it comes to this thing? Because like we said, when I started this collection for the bit, I did not anticipate how expensive a collection or hobby this was going to be.
You'll buy it.
So join our Patreon at patreon.com/multiverse newscast if you want to help support the popcorn bucket collection.
That's right. Patreon.com/popcorn bucket. No, it doesn't work. That's not a thing. Sorry. Yeah, no, I'm right there. I think this completely lived up the hype for me and like went further than I expected them to go, honestly. Like I thought that this would not be as explicit as it is, and especially the reveal video. I feel like the popcorn bucket is explicit because it is, I think, calling out to a sex toy, which I think that's kind of wild for Disney to do. But also the reveal and the butter dripping down Wolverine's face, like it was very far for them to go. And I know it's a Deadpool the movie goes far, but the marketing, that's pretty far for the marketing to go.
coming in on the other side of the table. I thought
don't
this
phrase it like
wasn't
that.
imaginative. Like, okay, it's literally the Dune bucket part 2. Like, you haven't done anything. I thought it would be something really funny, like something very Deadpool-esque, and I just think this is not that. Like, I don't know. Ryan Reynolds is a fraud.
Scotty, you said something about the Dune thing kind of being like it's already been done, and that was kind of my sort of reaction to this as a whole, like as it being created and then it being revealed and all that. Are people going to buy it? Yes, they will. I mean, that's theaters have to do these types of things to stay alive now because people aren't seeing movies, so they're selling these types of things to try to, I mean, why wouldn't you, right?
So they're selling sex toys.
But like the Dune popcorn bucket was a moment, and it was a cultural moment because it was unintentional. That's why it was funny. And if it was intentional, then these people are evil geniuses. But we're assuming that it was unintentional.
Or just geniuses.
So for this one to be so intentional, which I know was the joke, like it's supposed to be intentional, that doesn't necessarily land with me totally because I'm just kind of like, we've done this. Like it's kind of like sometimes the joke is best when you don't say the joke out loud, and this is saying the joke out loud to me at the end of the day. Now, again, like I said, will people buy it? Yeah. Like, will people post pictures of it and go to the theater just to buy it? Yeah, which is why they did it. But yeah, I kind of expected something a little different. I don't know. I kind of saw it and was like, okay, it's Wolverine with his mouth open. It sort of makes sense, I guess, from a logistical standpoint. But again, it's you'll never be him, and by him I mean the Dune bucket. You'll never stop trying to be
Scotty?
him.
Is he close by? We haven't seen him in a while.
Of course he's close by.
There he is.
Of course he's got him right by his desk.
For moments like these.
He actually keeps it with him at all times. Never leaves his side.
It's your emotional support bucket. And the R2D2. So
Support
good.
bucket. Just tiny butt. I just like, you mentioned, Haley, that you didn't think it made sense with the character or whatever. I just don't think. I think this is so perfect.
No,
and
that's not what I said. I just thought it'd be more. I thought it'd be farther than this for Deadpool. I didn't think this was that far. Not when we had Dune stuff.
I think it's pretty far. But also, the thing I love about it is how much it fits the Deadpool character because his love for, they do sell these sex toys like this that are celebrities' faces and stuff. That is a thing you can get. And it's the fact that Deadpool would want one and create one with Wolverine's face with his obsession with Wolverine, I think is so funny. I think that's, I don't know. I just had to throw that out there.
If I may, and I'm not looking for, a lesson on the male anatomy or anything like that, but I think the thing about the Dune bucket is I hate to say it, but you could potentially you could use that thing. When I look at the Wolverine bucket, it's that's funny, and it's I get it open wide, bub, but that's about it.
So you're saying it's not practical?
Yeah, that's J. Scotty's main problem with it.
Just in terms of the joke, it's just you can't really do anything with that, can you? Maybe somebody can. Yeah. Not me.
No comment.
Oh man. Okay.
It's so freaking funny.
This figuring bucket has made all of our podcasts X-rated this week, and this has been an editing nightmare. Well, Haley mentioned it earlier, but we do have a Patreon, you guys. And if you like the show, if you like all of our talk of lewd popcorn buckets, please go subscribe at patreon.com/multiverse newscast. It would be wonderful to have you all there. It's $4 a month, basically buck a show. It's a little tip for us collecting all the news in one place for you and streaming it into your open Wolverine mouths.
Just a tip.
All right. We'll be back in just a minute with more Multiverse news. Welcome back to Multiverse News. So today, today's Spotify poll, or last week's Spotify poll, I should say, we said the question was Beetlejuice. And the answers broke down like this. 2% of you said, please stop. 6.5% of you said, you're freaking me out. 15% of you said, don't speak that name. And with a resounding answer to the question, Beetlejuice, 71% of you said, Beetlejuice. So we have all together summoned the chaos demon or whatever he is.
I did choose Beetlejuice, and I was just sad that Michael Keaton didn't show up in my house.
Oh, sorry.
It's a real bummer.
Yeah, sorry. We should have put that as like a disclaimer. No promises of Michael Keaton in your house.
I appreciate the fact that our listeners play along because, certainly the spread is not like, even or anything like that. But even like the least selected choice there, please stop. That had to be like one vote, but somebody voted for that. So
yeah, I love it.
Please stop with the polls. Please stop about Beetlejuice.
Please stop making shows.
Please stop making podcasts.
Please cancel the show forever.
Well, now that you guys say all that, I'm really glad it was only 2%.
That was the first thing I thought of.
All right, guys. Well, we're gonna dive into the lightning round. We have, you guys have heard us do this before, but I'm going to read a story, and everyone on the panel can claim that story by saying their name to buzz in, and then they get to respond to that story, and only them. But once per round, you get a rebuttal. Once per lightning round, that is. So here we go. Two-time Oscar winner Mahershala Ali is in talks to join Scarlett Johansson in the upcoming Jurassic movie.
Scotty, go for it, Mahershala. They've had you waiting on Blade for way too long, and it sounds like this movie is going to happen sooner, so do your thing.
Yeah. Chris Hemsworth is in talks to lead a Transformers and G.I. Joe crossover sequel to Transformers Rise of the Beasts with no release date yet.
Jay? Yeah, I mean, this, I guess, makes sense for Chris Hemsworth. He is... I think he's kind of at a weird point in his career right now where he's coming off of Thor. He has been in, Furiosa hasn't done great at the box office. That's not his fault, but still, like, sometimes you do get punished for that when you're in a movie in Hollywood that doesn't do so well at the box office. His Extraction movies on Netflix always do very, very well. And it's one of their main streaming movie franchises, and he is very good in them. And so I think this does make a lot of sense for him. I don't know, again, I don't know with his career at this point, is he at the height that he was? Probably not. But I think he's probably getting paid a lot to do this, and they're probably giving him a choice in get in here and figure out who you want to direct this thing, and you can roll with that if you're Chris Hemsworth.
Scotty, with a rebuttal, with a name like Chris Hemsworth, I imagine, with a big crossover blockbuster franchise like this, they'll want his face, for the marketing and everything like that. But I also think about the animated prequel that we have on the way, Transformers 1, where he's voicing a proto version of Optimus Prime. So I don't know how old Peter Cullen is off the top of my head, but he's been voicing the character since the 80s, so it's been a long time. So my mind just starts to go is Peter Cullen looking to retire the role, and do they like
Crimsworth.
Yeah, Crimsworth.
Do they like Chris Hemsworth enough so where he's going to kind of slowly take over that role? Or is it potential, will he play two roles in this movie? Will he be a human character and Optimus Prime? I don't know. That's just kind of where my mind's going.
All right. Jeremy Renner joins the cast of Rian Johnson's Knives Out 3, his first role since his early 2023 snowplow accident, alongside Glenn Close, Josh Brolin, Andrew Scott, Kerry Washington, Mila Kunis, Josh O'Connor, and Kaylee Spaney.
Haley? I don't know. It's every day somebody else is in this movie, so...
Yep.
But I'm excited for Jeremy Renner to get back into films. I mean, dude almost died, so
yeah,
really happy for him that he's able to get back to this.
Absolutely. I'll throw my rebuttal here. I just freaking love these movies. I think they are so much fun, and I love Knives Out, the first one and the second one, and so I am all about this next one, and seeing such a huge cast coming has just got me pumped. And I think those movies have earned their reputation for being so good, and I think more people are just willing to come be in these movies because they're just so good.
Mm-hmm.
Scotty with a tiny butt. I did hear that apparently Rian Johnson wanted to call this next movie like Wake Up Dead Man, a Benoit Blanc mystery, but Netflix would not have that. Like they're making him stick to Knives Out 3. So I in the terms of marketing, I think that's probably the right call. I don't know how many people will recognize Benoit Blanc by name, but just kind of interesting thinking about, where Rian Johnson came from with Star Wars and The Last Jedi.
That's interesting. In addition to producing the It prequel series for Max, currently titled Welcome to Derry, Bill Skarsgård will also return to reprise his role as Pennywise the Clown from It and It Chapter 2.
Scotty, this took my interest from being pretty much non-existent to, I'll check it out now. If it's going to have that tight continuity with the movies, I definitely liked It Chapter 1 better than It Chapter 2. But I have enough interest in that franchise and that world to check it out if Bill Skarsgård's involved.
In a Variety Actors on Actors interview with Jodie Foster, Robert Downey Jr. said the following when asked if he would return to Tony Stark. He says, "It's the character that is most like me, and I've become surprisingly open-minded to the idea."
Haley? Well, if Avengers 5 has 60 Marvel characters in it, there's a real good chance he's going to show up there, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
Can they afford him anymore? I mean, he's got a high price tag.
He's fine.
Yeah.
He doesn't work for charity.
Maybe he should.
Like, who can afford him? It's like he would have the most impact for Marvel to come back to do something, I think. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Like, no one can afford him someone's got to be able to pay for him, and like they're like the only people who it makes sense probably. Warner Brothers Television is in early stages of developing a 300 TV series prequel with Zack Snyder in talks to direct and produce.
Jay, I think that this is probably sort of related to the popularity of these historical dramas, like Shogun comes to mind. I know Game of Thrones isn't historical drama, but still, like, it's got that sort of vibe to it of House of the Dragon and the prequel and stuff like that. Like, I think a lot of companies are sort of looking over their IPs and being like, what do we have that's kind of like this that we can do? And I think this, I mean, I guess it makes sense, but I don't think you can. I don't think you can't do it without Zack Snyder. I think you have to have Zack Snyder to do it. And so you have to figure out a way, though, to like turn Zack Snyder into like a streaming series. Now, he could ultimately produce this. He does not have to direct every episode. But still, when you get into those series, you kind of get, I feel like, a little bit into the Zack Snyder weakness a little bit of trying to like tell stories that are cohesive across multiple things, and it's just, I mean, that's kind of the longer you make his properties, the messier they get sometimes. And so again, it's not, he doesn't have to come in and have full control. He doesn't have to direct every episode. You could have a different director for different episodes. He could serve as an executive producer for all we know, right? So it is interesting, but I think like, this prequel series, especially with how long it's been since the movie 300, I'm definitely intrigued, but there's a lot of unanswered questions there, I feel like.
Scotty with a tiny butt. 300 will always hold a special place in my heart because it was the very first R-rated film that I was able to purchase a ticket as a 17-year-old and go see with my friends without any kind of parental involvement whatsoever. So I love it a lot, and even just a few years removed, they did that sequel or prequel. I don't know what it was, but it had Eva Green in it. I think it was called Rise of an Empire. I never caught it. I just was not interested, even with as much as I love 300. So I can't help but think IGN recently did a poll where they polled their audience, like, what is Zack Snyder's best film? And it was unanimously 300. And I was like, duh, is that even a question here? So it is interesting. I have to imagine that is a factor. I think, media companies do pay a lot of attention to social media these days. And I think, this could very, very possibly be a direct result of that poll in that article.
Elle Fanning is in talks to star in Badlands, a new Predator Universe movie directed by Dan Trachtenberg, who revamped the franchise with Prey.
Scotty, I like Elle Fanning. I liked Prey a lot. So the fact that Dan Trachtenberg's going to continue to work in this universe and bring some quality talent sounds good to me.
New Star Wars show The Acolyte is premiering right now, and Marvel Comics announced the Wookiee Jedi character Kelnaka will be getting a one-shot comic book written by Cavan Scott.
Haley. So we don't know anything about this character because I can't watch the show because we're still doing this right now. But I love this. Cavan Scott is one of the writers that was he's one of the architects of the High Republic. So just adding this to the great grand library of things you can read.
Netflix is currently developing an animated series based on the popular video game Minecraft alongside Mojang Studios, the Swedish developer of the game.
Jay, kind of surprised they haven't already done this at some studio with how popular that thing is, but I am thinking about the fact that there is a movie coming out next year that is a live-action Minecraft movie with Jack Black and Jason Momoa attached to star, so it's coming whether you want it or not. You're going to get a lot of Minecraft content coming your way.
MCU and Lost star Evangeline Lilly announced on Instagram that she is retiring from acting.
Haley, her Instagram post was kind of long and rambly, but this is her goal, she said, so all the power to her. I'm always jealous of people who can retire at whatever age you can. I want to retire, right, but that's probably never going to happen, so good for you, Evangeline Lilly. More power to you.
Join the Patreon.
Yeah, join the Patreon.
Let us retire.
Help us retire, everybody. Patreon.com/multiverse newscast.
Help our 401k.
I guess this is a tiny, but when Lost came out, I was probably a sophomore in high school, maybe freshman in high school, something like that, and started watching it, and I was crushing hard on Evangeline Lilly as Kate.
Sure.
I mean, that was a cultural moment.
Not Lost, just Kate.
I guess for our MCU, this means we won't get her back as Wasp for the time being,
right?
Unless she returns.
I wonder how they'll handle that if they come back with another Ant-Man movie, which I almost doubt they will after
Quantumania. I don't think you're getting another one of those.
Yeah.
We got Cassie.
Truth. Peaky Blinders fans can get excited as a film starring Cillian Murphy is in the pipeline. Plot details and more casting isn't known, but Murphy will also co-produce the film, which will land on Netflix.
Scotty, I don't watch Peaky Blinders, but it seems like it's been on for such a long time. I'm just happy for the fans that have stuck with it for so long that it seems like that's paid off. They're going to give it the full treatment with a film. So cool.
I'll get the rebuttal in here to say too that I think it's really cool that Cillian Murphy goes out and does Oppenheimer and wins an Oscar and kind of hits the peak of his career. And then he goes, instead of just being snooty about it and being well, I don't want to do any of the things that I did before that, he goes back and he does a Peaky Blinders movie. He's going to be in this new 28 years later thing as an executive producer, and as a lot of rumors saying that he's probably going to show up in some capacity reprising his role from that franchise. And I just think that's cool. He's not shying away from some of these long-standing franchises that he's been a part of just because he won an Oscar. He's going back and dabbling in them, and I just think that's cool. Good on him.
Extra tiny but Margot Robbie asked him about this last year in their Actors on Actors interview, and he was like, yeah, I'd be open to a film. So chalk one up for Margot
maybe
again.
She did this. The people who make Peaky Blinders saw that, and they immediately called him. They're like, we saw you with Margot, and we just want to ask if you were serious.
I feel 100% that's what happened.
All right. Fargo, Legion, and Manhunt actor Hamish Linklater is joining season 2 of Gen V.
Scotty, I haven't seen Manhunt, but I have seen Legion and Fargo, obviously, and the guy, he doesn't really stand out as a super memorable guy, but he's very serviceable in these character roles. So, I think he's a great addition in terms of talent.
I'll tiny but to say I'm looking at the article. It's saying that he will play a character called Cypher and is the newly appointed dean of Godlican University. So he's going to have that sort of role in that show.
I think he'd be good for that. He lends that kind of presence.
additional tiny butt. I just love him from Midnight Mass. Like I just have a great affection for his face. Like I pulled him up. I was like, who is that? Oh, that guy. I love that guy. So yeah, I really.
He looks like James Horner. I don't know if you know what James Horner looks like, but whenever I see him, that's immediately what I think.
In Manhunt, he played Abraham Lincoln, so he has that kind of squarish look.
All right. Well, my friends, that's the show. Please, let's go around and tell everybody where they can find you online. Haley Hobbs.
Yep, on Source Pages, we dropped our Acolyte primer earlier today. We were talking about Vernestra Rowe, who is the only character in the show that translates from the written material, so check us out.
Sweet. And J. Scotty St. Clair.
Yeah, on this very feed, you can catch myself and Jay Sisson as we did a multiverse review for Godzilla -1. So if you've been listening to the show for any amount of time, you know how positive I've been about that film. So it was really great to get to chat about that. And I'm just so happy that so many people are finally getting the opportunity to see it. So check that out. And then Animation Deliberation for all of your animation needs.
And Jay Sisson.
Yeah, the Godzilla -1 thing was really cool because we had a lot of people, especially on the Stranded Panda chat and places like that, reach out and say like, well, I wasn't going to watch this, and then I saw that y'all did a review about it, and so now I want to go watch it, and have been joining in on the conversation. So that movie has not been available in the United States, but now it is on Netflix, and a lot of people are catching it for the first time. So if you are thinking about seeing Godzilla -1, just know that you can join in a conversation with us about it. I think the first about 10 minutes or so of that episode are spoiler free. So if you just kind of want to like test the waters a little bit and listen to the episode and kind of see like, all right, is this movie right for me? We do talk a little bit about that, just like general impressions. So you can still feel free to check it out for a little bit and then come back maybe if you've decide to watch the movie. So yeah, catch that. And then you can find me at Commute the Podcast as well, where we cover 3 interesting things in about 20 minutes.
Sweet. And yeah, that's so cool. I love that. I think it's one of my favorite things as a podcaster when there's a really great piece of art that I love, and then we get to cover it and encourage our listeners to go check it out that wouldn't have otherwise. It's super, super great to hear. All right. Well, you can find me all over strandedpanda.com, all kinds of shows, but I'm going to not say any more because some of us have to go watch Acolyte like right now. So we'll be back next week with more multiverse news. I hope you're enjoying Acolyte. If you didn't make it to this live stream, we see who's missing. We see.
We're taking notes.
Somebody wasn't classy.
Peace.
You stay classy, Multiverse.
Hey, thanks for listening to Multiverse News, or watching it, or whatever you're doing, eyeballs or ear holes, whichever thing. We do this show every week, and we appreciate you listening. Strandedpanda.com is where you can find all of our podcasts, and thank you for listening. Check us out wherever you get podcasts. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit the little bell icon, whatever you have on whatever service you're doing. Rate us, like us. We're really thirsty. That's what I'm saying.